לך יספרו ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פתח את ידיך, משביע לך חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לך קרוב, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
אדוני את כל אוהביו, וכל רשעים ישמיד.
אלעד אדוני ידבר פיו, ויברך הבשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
אנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה, ובא לציון. ויבטחו בך יודעי שמך, כי לא עזבת דרשך אדוני. אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה. ויעמד דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון ויומכון, וחיי כל בית ישראל. והגלה בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בימה אמרו אמן.
We rise, page 566, Seder Hotzat HaTorah, Ki Mitzion.
כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. Adlu Adonai Hiti Uneremema Shmer Yaktav Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kicho Bashamayim U'Va'aretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlecha V'Hat Mitnaseh Lecho Liresh Ramimu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu Lahadam Raglav Kadoshu Ramimu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu Lahar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu V'atem habekim b'Adonai Elohechem chayim kolchem hayom.
May be seated. Ruth Ann, would you please recite the Birchat HaTorah?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. We are going to read from Parshat Achrei Mot. It's actually going to be a combined Parsha this coming Shabbat Achrei Mot Kedoshim. And just interesting that the process of becoming a people requires the burden, privilege, obligation of maintaining history. And so just as this peak moment of completing the tabernacle for the first time for the Jewish people just minted, a supreme tragedy befalls the Jewish people, the death of the sons of Aharon. It's not clear why and how. They did something that was out of line, and there was a death of Nadav and Avihu, and there are all kinds of explanations. Nothing really satisfies, but the obligation of remembering the event and the greater obligation to continue the service at the Mishkan. Moshe insists there be no mourning. The importance of continuing the service of the Mishkan for the greater purpose of Am Yisrael transcends the requirement and obligation to be in mourning for the passing of people who are of our family. I'm curious, is Rabbi Marcy here with us, Stephen?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay.
She's at her apartment. She's not here with me.
Okay, well then that settles that. I'm going to ask for the first aliyah. Sandy, would you be kind enough to recite? Jeffrey, what page are we on, please?
Certainly, in the Eitz Chaim Chumash, we're on page 679, and in the Hertz, we're on page 480.
Okay, so it's chapter 16, verse 1. And by the way, this is the Torah reading that we do on Yom Kippur, and so it has a soaring and a searing quality to the text, that the death of Bnei Aharon and the service at the Mishkan Beit HaMikdash of the ritual at that center of religion. Sandy, if you please, chapter 16, verse 1 and Vayikra.
Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe acharei mot shnei bnei Aharon v'karvatam lifnei Adonai v'yamutu vayomer Adonai el Moshe daber el Aharon achicha v'al yavo b'chol eit el hakodesh mi beit laparochet El pnei hakaporet asher al ha'aron v'lo yamut ki be'anan era'eh al hakaporet bizot yavo Aharon el hakodesh bifar ben bakar lechatat v'ayil le'olah ketonet Bad Kodesh Yobash Umichnase Bad Yehu Al Basaro Uva Avnate Bad Yachgor Uvmitznefet Bad Yitznof Big Day Kodesh Hem Berachat Bamayim Episaro Ovesham Umayet Adat B'nei Yisrael Yikach Shnei Seirei Izim Lachatat Ve'ayel Echad Le'olah V'hikriv Aharon Et Par HaChatat Asher Lo V'chiper Ba'ado uvad beito.
Marilyn, it's your side for your Abba Zichrono Livracha, Harav Mordechai Simkus. Before we make the Askara, would you share with us a little bit? I know he was very close to Rabbi Soloveitchik, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, and what a wonderful man that I got to meet him at your house when he came at the end of life to be with you and with Paul. Please tell us a little something about this extraordinary.
During the last year, we had the opportunity to go through a lot of boxes that we had at our house that we brought from Elmira when Dad came to live with us. and it had a lot of his sermons and writings that were just boxed, and we started to look at them. And we found it really very moving, because my dad started in the Rabbiton in 1933. And by looking through all of these writings and sermons and articles, we kind of got to live through American history and Jewish history through his eyes. And we were particularly interested in gleaning from all these boxes things like when World War II was announced and our boys went to service, and then the death of FDR, and then the end of the war, Victory Day, V-Day, and then all of the birth of Israel and all that came after that, the 6-Day War, JFK, the death of JFK. So it was really interesting. And our youngest son, Joshua, his life's work right now is he's an archivist. And so he takes care of all of that side of our life. So we scanned in some of the papers, and he's going to organize them for us and help us. So that was our Zadie project this pandemic.
Oh,
and it was
wonderful.
really interesting.
I hope you share with us that monumental work. Out of all the things that you read and saw, was there one thing that really stood out to you as a profound and deep discovery? I'm sure there were many.
Yeah, no, I think maybe just talking about anything related to Israel was very moving to us. You know, when the partition and when the state and, you know, all the different stages in the birth of Israel, and then in the early days of Israel, I think those and then just things that we had lived through, like JFK, and
Right.
we had never talked to my father about it, and just to see those kinds of things, I think
How beautiful.
I think we found them really interesting and quite moving.
Marilyn, was he an immigrant, his father, or?
No, his sisters were, but he was born in Brooklyn.
And his father came from?
I think from Russia, from Poland, so Eastern Europe.
Somewhere back there.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Paul, just a quick question. One thing that stands out for you from Rav Mordechai, alav shalom.
Well, whenever I had a question about Judaism, he was my encyclopedia. It was very easy for me to just say, call when he was in Elmira, just call him. And he taught me the davening.
Beautiful.
He taught me the davening. He made, at that time we had cassette recorders, and
Right.
he made cassettes for me.
Wonderful.
The Minhah for Shabbos, for example,
Yes,
and
I
then
remember that.
davening for the Minhah Rayim. And so I learned a great deal from him.
The reason I think Paul mentioned that is before I got the job, we were concerned that I should know the Nusach, and rushing into Dr. Schneider's office, trying to sort of sneak in there a Mincha Shabbos, and it was just so exciting. If you can make copies, I'd love to hear that wonderful presence of a voice. Marilyn, what's Abba's Hebrew name? Harav Mordechai Yoel?
Harav Yoel Mordechai
Mordechai.
and Moshe Binyamin Umunya.
Okay. כמה לרחמים שוכן במרומים, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת הרב יואל מרדכי בן
Moshe Binyamin
מוישה
Umunya.
בנימין ומוניה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולם ימוצו. בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו. ינוח בשלום משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We continue with the second reading, chapter 16, verse 7. ולקח את שני השעירים והעמיד אותם לפני אדוני פתח אוהל מועד, ונתן אהרון על שני השעירים גורלות, גורל אחד לאדוני וגורל אחד לעזאזל, והקריב אהרון את השעיר אשר עלה עליו הגורל לאדוני, ועשהו חטאת, והשעיר אשר עלה עליו הגורל לעזאזל יעמד חי לפני אדוני לכפר עליו, לשלח אותו לעזאזל המדבר. והקריב אהרון את פר החטאת אשר לו, וכיפר בעדו וביד ביתו, ושחט פר החטאת אשר לו. Let me see. Seth and Debbie Glassman, we have your site tonight for
my father.
your father. Oh my goodness, it's that. How many years now?
3.
3. God. I remember him so vividly. What a wonderful, beautiful man. So just quickly, Debbie, one thing that you would say about Dad that stands out.
So we're in New Jersey because our son-in-law's father passed away this week. So we're here and we're going to be with all the kids this week, and this weekend, and we're going to see Emily and Jared tomorrow, and their daughter Ellie. Her name is Elizabeth Poppy, and Poppy is named after Pop, who was my father. He was affectionately called Pop by all the kids, and so he was named after him. That's part of who he was named after, as well as Jared's grandfather was named Poppy. So he was just loved by everyone. He was just a wonderful human being. Anyone who knew him, he was just a mensch of all mensches. And anyone who around this table, I'm sure everybody who has a frame here has wonderful memories of my dad.
Absolutely. And we have his Chanukiot in the chapel and throughout the school, and
exactly.
An undying spirit. Beautiful.
And actually one at Hopkins, when Samantha was working there in the CICU there, the CCU, he made one for them too.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And
Yes,
I just want
please.
to add something, that he was my second father-in-law, by far the nicest one. And from the day that I met him, actually knew him before Debbie, and that he always treated me with respect. He treated me as a friend. He treated me as an equal, and he was just a marvelous person.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll just add that to be in his presence is to know you were loved and you were made to feel secure and safe, and that's no small thing. There are many trenches and battle lines in our wonderful institutions, and he always brought that sense of protection and love, which is priceless and wonderful. Thank you. Debbie, I'm sorry, Debbie, Dad's Hebrew name, please.
His Hebrew name is
Herschel.
Herschel Alta Tzvi Halevi.
And his father?
His father was, I got it. No, Jacob.
Yaakov,
Yaakov Halevi.
right? And his mom?
And his mother is, Mom Polly was Peril.
Peril. המלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, אמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הקיא מזהירים, את נשמת הרשל אלתר צבי, בן יעקב הלוי ופרל, שהלך לעולמו, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך, לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוע בשלום המשכבו ונאמר Amen. We'll quote Josh Rosen, long life, Chaim Arukim. Beautiful words. We continue with the third Aliyah, verse 12. Ruth Ann, please.
ולקח מלוא המחתה, גחלי אש מעל המזבח, מלפני אדוני ומלך פניו, כתרת סמים דקה, והביא מבית לפרוכת, ונתן את הכתרת על האש לפני אדוני, וכיסה ענן הכתרת את הכפרת אשר על העדות ולא ימות, ולקח מדם הפר והסב אצבעו על פני הכפרת קדמה, ולפני הכפרת יזה 7 פעמים מזה הדם באצבעו, ושחט את שעיר החטאת אשר לעם, והביא את דמו אל מבית לפרוכת, ועשה את דמו כאשר עשה לדם הפר, והיזה אותו על הכפרת, ולפני הכפרת על הקודש, מטומאת בני ישראל ומפשעיהם חטאותם, לכל חטאותם, וכן יעשה לאוהל מועד השוכן איתם בתוך טומאתם, וכל אדם לא יהיה באוהל מועד בבואו לכפר בקודש עד צאתו, וכיפר בעדו ובעד ביתו ובעד כל קהל ישראל.
Thank you, Ishak Kochach, beautifully done. Lori, you have your sites for your brother. Tell us a little, you're muted, you need to unmute, thank you. And
I just unmuted, but his starts at Mariv.
that's fine.
You want this
We're at
now?
the door,
Okay.
Lori. Lori.
Right, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh,
Loud and clear.
you can hear me, good. So about my brother, I can't believe it's been 18 years.
What's his name?
And now
What's his name?
Eliezer Yaakov,
English.
Lewis, Jacob.
Let's check.
He went by Eliezer because he had become Baal Teshuvah, and he married, and his children grew up from, and they're grown, and they have thrived, thank God, and they're all grown. The youngest is now in her first year of her first nursing job during this pandemic at the University of Maryland. And the oldest two are now both expecting their second child. So he will now, B'Sha'ah Tova, he will have 4 grandchildren this summer, which means my mother, who's sitting here. What?
How old was he when he died?
I think he was 43, very young. Yeah. And it's just so tragic that he couldn't have live to this day to see all of this wonderful stuff, but my mother is kvelling.
What
And,
flavor of Orthodoxy did he convert to?
What they call modern Orthodox.
Oh, okay.
Do you know
fine.
what I mean?
Okay, fine. Thought maybe
Yes.
the Baruch.
I mean, my sister-in-law wears a sheitel. They're strict,
Good.
but they mix with non-Jews. They work in professions.
Right.
You know.
Oh, how wonderful. Sorry, what's his name? Eliezer Yaakov ben.
Yes, Eliezer Yaakov ben Moshe Tzvi Hirsch v'Chana Rezel.
שוכרים במרומים, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזעקיה מזהירים, את נשמת אליעזר יעקב בן צבי. You're muted.
Right. Moshe Tzvi Hirsch.
Moshe Tzvi Hirsch וחנה רייזל שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו ברחמים הסתירהו בספק כנפיך לעולמי מוצאו ביצוע חיים ונשמתו אדוני נחלתו ינוע בשלום ונאמר long life. Thank you. And we also have your site for. Is there anybody else tonight?
Marv, my father.
Okay. Well, we would say the custom is the minhag is to recite the askara at the Torah reading. So who I
And so Stephen's father's name is David Jacobs.
David Shmuel ben Yosef Yona ben Mini.
One more time. Yosef Shmuel.
David Shmuel.
David
ben
Shmuel.
Yosef Yona the Mini.
Yosef Yona.
Mini.
כמה לרחמים שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות, קדושים וטהורים, כזעקיה מזהירים, את נשמת דוד שמואל בן
יוסף יונה ומנה.
יוסף יונה ומנה, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמי מוצאו ביצוע חיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוע בשלום ומשכבו ונאמר amen. Stephen, would you tell us just a little something about that, please?
Well, he had a stroke when I was like 18 months old. So all I remember about him was that, work was very important to him. He never missed a day.
Okay, I'm sure there's much more. Was he an immigrant or his father?
Pardon me?
Was he an immigrant or his father?
He was born in this country. His father was an immigrant.
From
Eastern Europe.
Right. Small place in Europe, Eastern Europe. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much. We continue with
Moshe.
Yes.
And Leslie is observing yard site for Daniel Kaplan.
Leslie, would you please tell us a little about Mr. Kaplan? Is that your father, Leslie?
No, it's my grandfather.
Your grandfather. A word about your grandfather?
Every Friday night when he would come home from work, he worked across the street from Lexington Market, and he'd have shopping bags of produce and always candy for the grandchildren. And
And
it would make my grandmother crazy.
that's his job. You know.
That's right. That's
All right,
right.
very beautiful, Leslie. And his Hebrew name, please.
Danielle, I don't know what his father's name was. I never had his father or mother's name. I know that his parents divorced, or his father left his mother at some point, because my mother never spoke about them. He is a Kohen, and he was born in this country in 1899.
Whoa, very nice, very nice.
More or less right after they came over off the boat.
Leslie, do you know where he is buried?
Yes, at Beth Tefillah.
Okay, on his stone, he will have his father's name inscribed.
Right. Next time I go, I will.
Very
check.
good. Thank you, Leslie. All right. And his first name again is?
Danielle.
Danielle. המלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, אמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת דניאל בן אהרון הכהן שהלך לעולמו, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרו בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום המשכבו, ונאמר Amen. Long life, Leslie, long life. We continue with the Minhah service on page 570, Eitz Chaim Hi. Please rise.
Eitz Chaim Hi lamachazikim ba betomcheha meushar Diracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu V'kedem.
Continue with Chatzi Kaddish 572. Please rise.
Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechanu v'yamechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bahagala v'izman kariv v'meru amen. Yeshmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnatzeh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha le'ela min kol berchata b'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'yimeru. Amen.
We continue with the silent Amidah on page 574, and please add all the parts for Shabbat. Silently Amidah. We continue with the repetition. If you're not finished, please continue. And when Ruth Ann is done, we will begin at the inside back cover of the Siddur and then return to page 574.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Vanara El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei HaKol V'zocher Chastei Havot Umevi Goel Lifnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ezer V'Ked U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham V'Ked Sarah
Amen.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atah Rab Lehoshia Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed Mechayei Metim B'Rachamim Rabim Samech Noflim B'Rovech Olim U'Matir Asurim Mekayem Amenatel Shenei Afar Mechamelcha Ba'al Gevurah Tamid Melach Melech Memid Mechayeh Matzmeach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lahachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim.
Amen. Rise 576, Kedusha. Kadeshim Chabalam, Shem Shemay Shemotoi Shem Arom, Toyan V'yecha, Kazel Zeremah.
Nekadesh Shemcha ba'olam Kishem Shemakti Shemot B'Shmei Maram Kakatuv Yad Nevi'echa V'Kara Zel Zev Yamar
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech Haaretz Kevodo, Le'umatam Baruch Yameinu.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech Haaretz, Kevodo Le'umatam, Baruch Yameru.
Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo.
Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo, B'divrei Kodeshecho, Katuv Le'mor.
Melech Adonai Le'olam, L'hayich Tzion, L'dor Ador, Hallelujah.
Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Tzion L'dor Hallelujah. L'dor v'ador, Nagid God Lecha, Le'netzach Netzachim. Kedushach Decha Naktish, B'shivacha Eloheinu. Mipinu Lo Yamush Le'olam Vahed. Ki El Melech Gadol V'kadosh Atah. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh
Amen.
Atah Echad B'Shimcha Echad Umi Ke'amcha Yisrael Umi Ke'amcha Yisrael Goy Echad Ha'aretz Tiferet Gedula Vateret Yeshua Yamenucha Huktusha Liamcha Natata Yamenucha Huktusha Liamcha Natata Avraham Yagel Yitzchak Yeranen Yaakov Uvanav Yanuchuvel Yaakov Uvanav Yanuchuvel Menuchad Abba, Hunadaba, Menuchad Emet Emunah, Menuchad Shalom Vishalvaha, Vashkehet Vavetach, Menuchad Shlema Shata Baha, Yakir Vanecha Viedu Ki Made Chahi Menuchad Taham, Via Menuchad Tam, Yaktishu Et Shemecha. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'tzevi menachatenu k'adshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkenu b'toratecha sabenu mituvecha v'samachenu b'shuatecha v'taher libeinu li'ovtecha b'emet v'hanechilenu Adonai Eloheinu v'ahava v'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha V'anuchu v'Yisrael Mekadesh Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael u'v'tfilatam v'ashevet ha'avodah lidvir beitecha u'tfilatam b'avat tegabel b'ratzon u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha v'techazena enenu b'shivacha l'tzion berachamim Baruch atah Adonai
Oh,
Hamachazir Shkinato Litzion
amen.
Modim Anachnu Lach
580.
Hatov Kilo Chaliracha Mecha V'Hamarachim Kilo Tamu Chasadecha Meolam Kivinu Lach V'al Kulam Yitbarak V'Yitramam Shimcha Malkenu Tamil Leolam Vahed V'cho HaChayim Yoducha Tzela V'Halalu Et Shimcha B'Emet Ha'el Yeshuatenu V'Yezratenu Tzela Baruch atah Adonai
Oh,
Atav Shimcha Ochanu Elohod
amen.
Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha V'Yal Kol Yoshvei Tevel Tasim Leolam Ki Atah Melech Adon L'Cho HaShalom V'Tov B'Einecha L'Barech Et Amcha Yisrael B'Cho Eitu B'Cho Shar B'Shlomecha Baruch atah Adonai
Shalom.
Amavarech et Amo Yisrael V'Shalom
Amen. Kaddish Shalem 596.
Yitkadav Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
Yamad Divrach Yiritev Yamlich Malchute B'Chayechon V'Yamechan V'Chayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagalav Yizman Kariv Yimaru
Amen. Yeshmei Rabba Mevorach. Eolam Leolam Maya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitbar V'Yitramam V'Yitnatzeh V'Yitadar V'Yitalev V'Yitala Shemed Kedusha
Echo.
Elam Minko Birchata V'Shirata Tishbachata V'Nechemata Damiran B'Yama V'Yimeru
Amen.
Ki Kabal Salodhun Uva'utahun D'cha Yisrael Kadama V'Hun D'Bishmai V'Yimeru
Amen.
Yehesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yal Kol Yisrael V'Yimeru
Amen.
V'Seh Shalom B'Mremahav V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yal Kol Yisrael
Amen.
Yimeru
Amen. We rise Aleinu 598.
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol L'Teit Kedula L'Yetzer Bereshit
Shalom.
Shelo Hasanu Kegoyei Haratzot V'Leho Samanu K'Mishpachot Hadama Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem V'Torah Leinu Kechol Amenam V'Hanachnu Karim Mishtachavim Modim Mifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi olamei atimlok bechavod kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimlok le'olam vahed v'nehemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad v'shemo Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad.
We recall with love those who gave us life and shared life with us, whose yortzeit is Shabbat, the 5th of Iyar, the birthday of Medinat Israel Beyamenu, April 17th, 2021. following names are listed in the perpetual memorials of Chizuk Amuno, and they are inscribed in our hearts and souls as we experience their presence. Thelma Solid Cohen, Isidore Finkelstein, Eva Jacobs, Morris Katz, Louis H. Levin, Irving Marlin, Esther Murad, Stanley Plain, Lillian Pressman, Arnold Rubenstein, and Jeffrey, who have we missed? That's it. Yortzeit and Mortis Kaddish, page 600. Itgadal v'itkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach erutei ve'yamlech machotei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imo amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירם בעלמה ועמרמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועמו אמן. עשה שלום עממה, והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועמו אמן. As we continue with the Arvit service, I wanted to share just a very brief thought. There is going to be a fire that is brought from Mount Olympus to Japan for the Olympics. There's the sense that you're taking fire from a source of origin for the Olympiads and bring it to Japan to light and enlighten unser weiter. For us Jews, when we hear words spoken by a great scholar and person who draws his knowledge going back from person to person, that is the fire beyond the Olympiads. And to hear Marilyn and to hear Dr. Rabbi Paul Schneider share with us words from your father, Zichrono Livracha, is to hear someone who learned with Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, who learned. We're so fortunate to experience this great light that goes back to Sinai, and we thank you. Page 200, we rise, and Rabbi Schneider is going to lead us in the Arvit service.
Urachum yechapon v'lo ishchid ve'erbal hashiva po v'lo yerkel chamato. Adonai Yoshem Melcheinu Yom Kareinu Barechu et Adonai HaMevarach.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Kayam Tamid Yimlacho Enu Va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Amari Varavim.
Amen.
Yim Chayenu v'Yarech Yameinu v'Hem Yagei Yamam v'Layla v'Yavatcha Tasir Mimenu Li'Olamim. Baruch et Adonai Mo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meildecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shiftecha b'veitecha v'letecha v'derech v'shaftecha v'kumecha v'shartam li'odai yadecha v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובישעריך והיה עם שמוע. למען ירבו ימיכם וימי בניכם על האדמה שנשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם כימי השמיים על הארץ. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו הציצית הכנף בתל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תתורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. The middle of 204. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדור בקודש נורא תהילו נוסף אלה מלכותך רבנך בוקיים לפני משה זה אלינו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כיפת אדוני יעקב גלה בי החזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל היום
Amen.
אדוני אלינו לשלום.
Page 206.
ושמור צאתנו בנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל לעד ברוך אדוני לעולם אמן ואמן ברוך אדוני מציון.
Middle of page 206.
כי המלכות שלך היא מעטים לו בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה ברוך אתה אדוני. המלך בכבודו תמיד ימלך לעולם ועד ועל כל מעשיו יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה.
Amen.
ויברך ירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וימיכון ובחייך בית ישראל ובכל הזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך ומאמניה יתברך וישתבח ויפור ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמר קדושה בריחו ולאמור מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
We rise for the Amidah, recite it silently to God directly. Please remember at the top of page 212, the top of 212, Ata chonantanu le'madat toratecha for Motzei Shabbat. אלוקינו חללינו ימינו לשלום חסוכים מכל חטא ומכים קרבון בקים בידך בנינו מחד יבנה וזכרו תן ברכה בני
Shalom, page 222. Yitkara v'yitkara shemei rabba v'yamadi b'rachyote v'yamli b'achute v'chayechonu v'yamechonu v'chayrecha b'et Yisrael v'gais man kari v'yimeru
Amen.
V'yishmei rabba mevarach le'olam le'olam me'olam Barach v'yishtabach v'yitvar v'yitinamam v'yitnase v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal Shemei dekudisha v'yitalel min kol v'yirachata v'shirata Tishbechata v'nechemata tamiran v'yama v'yimeru
Amen.
Yitabel slotan avachon dechoisa katan avohandi v'yishmaya v'yimeru
Amen.
Yishlam araba min shmaya v'chaim aleinu v'yakoisa v'yimeru Amen oseh shalom b'mrama v'yaseh shalom Amen v'yakoisa v'yimeru Amen.
We turn to page 237 for counting the Omer. We're instructed to count the Omer from the second day of Pesach till 50 days later for Shavuot. In the Torah, there is no connection between Shavuot and Matan Torah. It's a rabbinic invention. The real subject of the Omer is grain, barley at Pesach and wheat at Shavuot. We read together on page 237, the English paragraph followed by the bracha in Hebrew. And last night we counted number 20. Last night, number 20. Together in English. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer as it is ordained in the Torah.
You shall count from the
second day of Pesach when an Omer of grain is to be brought as an offering. 7 complete weeks. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav tzivanu al tfilat haomer hayom echad ve'esrim yom shehem shlosha shavuot la'omer. Today is 21 days, which is 3 weeks to the counting of the Omer. And now we turn to page 700 for the Havdalah. And Maimonides tells us that the Havdalah is a kiddush of the coming week. So, as we are wont to do, we light a candle. And we don't make a bracha la'adlik ner shel Havdalah, which is curious, but that's for another time. And we lift a glass of wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil b'kodesh l'chol b'no l'choshech Ben Israel Amim, Ben Yom HaShvi'i l'Sheshet Yemei HaMaaseh, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamavdil Ben Kodesh Lechol. Hamavdil Ben Kodesh Lechol, Chatoteinu Yimchol, Yameinu v'chaspenu Yarbeh kachol, והכוכבים בלילה, שבוע טוב. שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, חגות אבוך, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, אליהו הנביא, אליהו הטבעי, אליהו, אליהו הטבעי. במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו הטבעי, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. עלינו, page 224.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוסף בראשית, שלא עשנו כגוי הרצות ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגר עלינו ככל המונם, כי אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שאת השמיים ויוסר הארץ. כן נקבל לך אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על הארץ. ויאמרו יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We recall with love those who gave us life and shared life with us, whose yortzeit is Sunday, the 6th of Iyar, April 18th, 2021. Following names are listed in our perpetual memorials of Chizuk Amuno and are inscribed in our hearts and our souls. Sarah P. Kaplan, Phyllis Charles, Zelig Cohen, Eleanor M. Kahn, Dr. Harold H. Gilbert, Belle G. Jacobs, Zelda May Yaffe, Rabbi Mordechai J. Simkus, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, David Jacobs, Louis Jacob Hollander, and Daniel Kaplan. Yortzeit and Mourner's Kaddish, page 226. Yid Gadal V'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Yalmad Yivrach Chirutei V'Yamlich Machutei, B'chayechon V'Yomechon V'Chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'Zman Kariv V'Imo Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach L'Olam U'Maya, Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yithadar V'Yitale V'Yithalal Shmei D'Kudusha L'Yichu Lela Min Kol B'Chata V'Shirata V'Shbechata V'Nechemata D'Amiram Be'alma V'Imo Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shmaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Akol Yisrael V'Imo Amen. Say Shalom Imamav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Akol Yisrael V'Imo Amen. Shavua Tov, a good gebencht Woch, Mazel and Bracha and Atzlacha, Nachas from the Kinder and the Eniklech stock market, you know what to do. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, and again a reminder to be appreciative of the great many blessings and the connections that we have directly to Sinai and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Thank you all, and thank you for the gift, the memories, and the experience. Please be careful, be safe, be healthy, be good, and keep the faith. David, wonderful to see you, sir. Next. Thank you. Shavua Tov, a good gebencht Woch, and to Jeffrey Davis. the main guy who makes this all possible. Thank you all. Shavua Tov, a good Geben Shvach. Laila Tov.
Shavua Tov. Bye, Moshe. Bye, everybody.
Nadia, Shavua Tov. Nadia. Go to. Thank you, Jeffrey.